quarterback coach is forced to break his silence and admit all of the quarterbacks is getting QB reps with the scout team. Guys, for this coming out with the Cleveland Brown practice, and it's being said that Shedeur Sanders is not getting these QB scout reps, bruh. And I'm here to tell you, I believe he ain't. Now, quarterback coach Bill Musgrave has forced his hand into the matter because he just spoke to reporters moments ago, pretty much explaining that, you know what, all of the quarterbacks are getting their scout team.
The Browns quarterback coach just went off on Shedeur Sanders' scout team reps. And when I say off, I mean no chill at all. Bill Musgrave didn't just raise an eyebrow, he raised the entire locker room's blood pressure. This wasn't coaching. This was reality TV with shoulder pads. Forget polite corrections. Musgrave came in swinging with comments so sharp they could slice through a helmet. Why is Shedeur catching strays in a drill that's supposed to be mindless warm-ups? Oh, just wait, because Cleveland found a way to turn a routine preseason session into a full-blown primetime drama. Only the Browns could make a scout team rep look like a season finale cliffhanger. These are supposed to be harmless, slow-motion plays, a bunch of backups pretending to be the Ravens for practice, but somehow the entire vibe turned electric, like someone lit a match in a gas-filled locker room. And right in the center of this chaos, Coach Bill Musgrave dropping truth bombs with the energy of a man who's seen too many losing seasons and finally snapped. He didn't sugarcoat, he didn't joke. He just started dissecting things like a surgeon who ran out of anesthesia. His honesty hit so cold it made people check the thermostat. You'd expect fireworks, right? But no.
That is so true what you said. Neither of these guys have ever not been the guy. And that happens a lot with guys who enter the NFL. They've been the starters their whole lives. And so there's a transition there. And for the first week, they did a nice job. They immersed themselves, both of them, in the game plan. Did a lot of drill work on the side, both before and after practice. And then they get some scout team reps so they can get some balls airborne and make sure that they're staying in sync, of course, because really Dillon being one play away and Shedeur being 2 plays away.
Musgrave's delivery had that creepy, calm tone, the kind that makes players look at each other like, oh, we're in trouble. It wasn't yelling, it was surgical destruction with a smile. Imagine your old math teacher catching you cheating, but instead of yelling, she just explains the formula that proves you failed yourself. That's the energy Musgrave brought. Somewhere between his robotic football wisdom and his chilling calmness, he let something slip. Yeah, Shedeur's getting his scout reps. But here's the twist. Everyone in Cleveland knows that line's about as believable as saying they've got confetti ready for a Super Bowl parade. Because if Shedeur is getting those reps, they must be hiding them better than Area 51. The Browns have officially turned practice into performance art, and every whispered word feels like the setup for the next scandal. Let's be real for a second. Everybody in Cleveland can feel it. Something's not adding up here. The whispers are getting louder.
That when they're running scout team offense, Shedeur Sanders is not allowed to touch a football. According to Rizzo in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders isn't even on the field for anything. He's a bystander watching practice. And I happen to love that, because for everyone out there that was yelling and screaming about how the Browns were disrespecting Shedeur and the NFL disrespected Shedeur, if a dude can play, you find a way to play him, period, stop. So the fact that he started the season off as the 3rd quarterback, and now we're finding out he's 4th behind Bailey Zappi.
And the word on the street is that Shedeur Sanders isn't getting a fair shot. While other young QBs are out there slinging the ball, getting real reps, Shedeur's over on the sideline making sure the Gatorade cups are lined up perfectly. That's not practice. That's punishment dressed up as development. And Musgrave, the man who was supposed to clear things up, stepped up to the mic and delivered the most confusing word salad imaginable. He smiled, nodded, and acted like everything was perfect, while the entire fan base was screaming, "What are you talking about?" If that's brutal honesty, then yeah, I'm a billionaire. And just when you think he's done spinning nonsense, Musgrave drops this gem. Shedeur's 2 plays away from seeing the field. 2 plays away? That's like saying you're 2 scratch-offs away from buying a yacht. Sure, it's technically possible, but it's also basically fantasy. Because in Cleveland, 2 plays away means 2 starters collapsing, a doctor performing miracles, and divine intervention all happening before Shedeur even gets to take a real snap. It's the NFL's version of a fairy tale, minus the happy ending. Now picture this from Shedeur's point of view. You're the son of Deion Sanders, raised for greatness, the cameras follow you everywhere, the hype is through the roof, and then suddenly you're out here pretending to be other quarterbacks. Joe Burrow one week, Lamar Jackson the next, running fake plays while the real action happens without you. It's not just humbling, it's humiliating. You're mimicking Lamar's style with none of Lamar's glory stats or checks. At this point, the Browns might as well sign him up for acting classes, because clearly he's playing a role. Not quarterback, but background extra in his own career.
The ESPN has reported that Shedeur Sanders is not receiving any reps. That means no second team, third team, not even scout team reps. Meaning he's just sitting in practice, throwing the ball to whoever and just going through drills all day. No practice reps? No nothing? He can't improve? Why? Why is he not given an opportunity to even improve his skills? That's the whole point of practice. I understand not letting him go with the ones at this point. You've made it clear. Maybe even second team, but not even scout team.
And just when it seemed like the awkwardness couldn't get worse, Musgrave decided he had more to say. Then Musgrave doubled down. He started explaining how drill work is crucial and studying is creative, like standing on a carpet in the facility pretending to call plays is some kind of sacred rite of passage to Canton. Come on, man. That's like telling a kid shooting free throws in his driveway. Congrats, you're basically in the NBA now. The way he said it, you'd think Shedeur's biggest achievement this week was not tripping over a tackling dummy. Brutal honesty? Please, this was brutal comedy. And the wildest part? Musgrave actually tried to sell the idea that scout team duty was an art form. He painted it like some next-level performance where every fake snap builds character. Meanwhile, Cleveland fans are staring at their screens like, what in the world did we just hear? They watched a first-round storyline full of hype, legacy, and promise get turned into a bad sitcom about football purgatory. See, the supposed subplot here is that Shedeur's learning, but what he's really learning is how it feels to be trapped in quarterback limbo. Musgrave, bless him, started talking about immersion in the game plan like Shedeur was plugged into the Matrix. Except no, coach, he's not Neo. He's a frustrated rookie wondering how he went from the Sanders legacy to being Cleveland's Lamar Jackson impersonator in a matter of months. And the funniest, most painful twist? Musgrave made it sound like Shedeur should thank them for it. Like,
Quarterback development, because Kevin even said development doesn't stop even though you might not be the starter. What does the development look like during the week in the building? Where again you said you talked about stuff that's going before and after practice on the field, but during the week, how are you ensuring that these guys are still learning the playbook, they're really immersing themselves in understanding, and still progressing when maybe you don't get the on-field kind of validation?
Yeah, there's challenges there because you're not getting the time on task and getting the actual reps. So the drill work is crucial. The studying, I call them simulations, where we do almost stand-up meetings or walkthroughs, both in the meeting room and perhaps out on the grass or even in on the carpet where we have more space. So there's ways that we are trying to be creative, and it happens with each quarterback room in the whole league at all levels.
congrats, kid, and you're not the starter, not the backup, not even the emergency option. You're the emergency plan. But hey, at least you get to wear the uniform and throw a couple of warm-up spirals between water breaks, right? At this rate, the Browns might as well hand him a clipboard and a whistle so he can cosplay as the assistant quarterback coach. At least then he'd finally get credit for what he's actually doing, teaching patience by example. So after all that spin, all that creative development talk, what's the grand conclusion from Musgrave? Apparently everyone's getting scout team reps. Everything's fine, according to Musgrave. Shedeur's development is right on track. But let's be honest, that's the same kind of fine people say when their house is on fire and they're holding a garden hose. Word inside the locker room says Shedeur's reps are about as rare as a Cleveland playoff win, and that's saying something. When he doesn't get snaps, suddenly it's news, suddenly it's drama, suddenly it's controversial. And that right there tells you everything you need to know. Cleveland's mastered the art of turning basic football operations into full-blown conspiracy theories. It's like they can't go 1 week without spinning a new saga. And Musgrave's long-winded everything's great speech didn't help one bit. That press conference, it felt like a therapy session for a coach pretending everything's normal while the building's cracking behind him. Reporters were asking about reps, interceptions, and team chemistry. And Musgrave responded like he was giving a TED Talk on emotional intelligence in quarterbacks. You could practically see the thought bubble above his head. Please stop asking me about Shedeur.
At this point, y'all are saying he can't do anything right. I recently saw last week when the kicker missed his kick in the last couple seconds, Shedeur went over to give him some words of encouragement, and y'all said that he just wanted some TV time. Newsflash, the only reason why the camera was over there is because Shedeur walked over there. Like, you've been able to have an explanation for everything on why he's not good, why he can't play, but explain why you won't allow him to practice. Explain why you won't allow him to actually get better. Y'all are making it very obvious. You just want to bury him and so we can just stop talking about it.
I beg you. The man was dodging questions like a politician caught mid-scandal. If you listen closely, he answered at least 3 random questions about Joe Flacco, probably just to steer the conversation anywhere else. That's when you know the tension in that quarterback room is real. It's thick enough to cut with a playbook. Right now, the quarterback room doesn't look like a team, it looks like a dysfunctional family dinner. You've got Joe Flacco sitting there with his calm dad energy, trying to stop everyone from throwing mashed potatoes. Dylan Gabriel's the overachieving middle child, desperate to prove he's next in line for the throne. And then there's Shedeur, the youngest, sitting in silence, wondering why nobody trusts him with the car keys even though he's the one who's been practicing the most. Musgrave keeps insisting it's just healthy competition. But if this is healthy, then Cleveland's definition of toxic must involve smoke alarms and a fire truck. Picture this, the Browns' defense is out there during practice, hyped up like they just drank 10 energy drinks, flying around ready to crush anything that moves. But let's be real, this ain't practice, it's straight up comedy rehearsal.
Yo, look, I'm sick and tired of seeing how the Cleveland Browns and the NFL is treating Shedeur Sanders. This right here got me hotter than fish grease. This got me hotter than Texas on an August noon when it's 111 degrees. This right here is bull dookie. I'm trying to not to curse. I'm trying to stay kid friendly. But this is crazy. Bro not even running practice squad. They say he not even practicing. He just there.
Because here's where the irony hits like a linebacker. Musgrave swears that scout team duty is valuable, calling it a key part of development. Yeah, sure. And I'm the next MVP of the league. Across the NFL, real quarterbacks would rather sit through rush hour traffic than spend a season pretending to be another team's offense. It's busy work, plain and simple, like copying someone else's homework and calling it studying. You're doing something, but you're not actually learning. For Shedeur, this isn't growth. It's punishment in a disguise so obvious it might as well come with a label that says, time waste included. But of course, Musgrave keeps pushing the same fairy tale. Everyone's learning, everyone's improving, right? And Shedeur's 2 plays away from seeing the field, which, in Cleveland language, probably means you'll play when Lake Erie freezes over into a giant margarita. The fans know it, reporters know it, and most of all, Shedeur knows it too.
He played with the threes. Anyone with half a brain could see 4 of the 5 guys got waived yesterday. He was running for his life. I mean, if I'm that kid's father, uncle, brother, I'm going, you know what? Let us go somewhere we can try and play.
Please.
We can be developed. There never was a 4-man competition. Never. Shedeur was never in the competition. And if that's how the Browns see it, rightfully so. Why'd you draft him? Why'd you draft him?
That's exactly why the rumors won't die. There's no universe where a guy with that much talent, that much pedigree, and that much spotlight is actually happy being the NFL's #1 impersonator. He's out there playing pretend while the rest of the league plays for real. So naturally, the fan base has exploded. Browns Twitter right now looks like a war zone full of memes, panic, and conspiracy threads. And speaking of conspiracies, there's a loud corner of the internet convinced this is all part of a master plan by Deion Sanders himself. They swear he's playing 4D chess, setting up his son to get traded to a real contender, somewhere he can actually shine. And honestly, that might be the most believable theory out there, because let's not sugarcoat it, the Browns have handled quarterbacks like disposable razors for years. One gets dull, they just toss him and grab another from the shelf. Cleveland doesn't develop quarterbacks, they recycle them, and somehow they've managed to turn one of football's most hyped prospects into a glorified scout team decoy. And that's the real punchline. Use them once.
Situations were invaluable for Shedeur, for all of our offense. We got a 3rd and 1 where he had a quarterback sneak. I mean, there's just a lot of football, and that's by design with him getting a ton of reps in this game, and then he'll get a ton of reps next week as well. That's all part of our development of our young players.
Toss them out, then act shocked when they keep cutting themselves. That's the Cleveland way. So when the team insists they're handling Shedeur's development perfectly, all you can do is laugh and say, yeah, sure, they pull the other one. Because right now, his rookie season doesn't look like an NFL journey. It looks like a hostage situation with cleats. He's out there doing everything right, showing up early, staying late, memorizing the playbook like it's sacred scripture, and what does he get in return? A few meaningless scout team tosses and a friendly pat on the helmet from Musgrave like, good job, kid, now go pretend to be Lamar again. That's not development, that's punishment with a participation ribbon. If this is what they call growth, then sitting on a park bench must be Olympic training. And the worst part? Musgrave knows exactly how to make it sound legit. He drops fancy coach talk like immersion, simulation, and art form, trying to make it seem like Shedeur's enrolled in some elite quarterback academy. But everybody watching can see the truth hiding behind those buzzwords. The forced smiles, the tight shoulders, the little hesitations when coaches speak about him. It's not confidence, it's cover-up.
In practice squad, they literally just got him there as a mascot at this point because they know that people are buying jerseys. He's literally like he's in the top 5 of #1 selling jerseys in the league, and he can't even get any practice. Yo, listen, we need to start a hashtag right now called Free Shedeur. Hashtag Free Shedeur. This has gotten out of control. The way they treating the Sanders boys, this is horrible. This is like the worst I've ever seen besides Colin Kaepernick.
People around the team can feel it. This isn't about reps, it's about trust. The Browns clearly don't trust Shedeur enough to give him real developmental snaps, but they also don't have the guts to admit it publicly. So instead, they feed fans a bland, sanitized press conference and hope nobody catches the contradictions. But guess what? Everybody caught them. Now the speculation is spiraling out of control. Fans are already deep into the what-if game. What if Shedeur gets fed up and demands a trade? What if Dayon's already pulling strings behind the scenes? What if this whole scout team saga is step 1 in some master plan? Every theory sounds more believable than the official story because Cleveland's version is just too dull, too safe, too Cleveland. And at this point, one thing's clear. The truth might not be flashy, but it's definitely not the one there. If Musgrave's honesty was a storm, then the Browns PR team has been running around in flip-flops trying to sweep ocean water off the Titanic's deck with a broom. The spin has been painful to watch. They're throwing out all the safe words, development, growth, patience, like broken record buttons on repeat. Meanwhile, the rest of the football world is sitting there watching Shedeur run scout team plays like a guy who bought VIP tickets only to end up in the nosebleeds. It's like paying for front row seats at a Beyonce concert and then being told to sit behind the sound crew.
Looking forward to seeing the competition between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders in the last preseason game. I know it plays out like this sometimes, but a bummer that both didn't have the same opportunities to make plays. Dillon Gabriel played well again, but had good opportunities to make plays. Shedeur Sanders didn't have those same opportunities, so it was hard to make an assessment. This is a Hall of Famer, by the way, too. Hall of Fame quarterback. And he's telling you, it wasn't a fair assessment. One player had an opportunity to make plays, and the
absolute madness. Because apparently, torching the first-string defense in practice somehow makes you less qualified to play. If Shedeur was throwing ducks into linebackers' hands, maybe then they'd finally hand him the starting job. The Browns' logic defies gravity. It could win gold medals in mental gymnastics. Honestly, they're twisting themselves into pretzels trying to justify nonsense. Simone Biles herself would be impressed by how flexible their excuses are. The whole setup feels like a bad joke that got way too real. Shedeur's running plays that don't belong to him, operating in an offense that doesn't reflect his style, yet he still stands out every single time. That's like asking a Ferrari to pull a rusty plow through a cornfield, and then acting shocked when it still glides smoother than the tractor, and Musgrave, bless his brutally calm nature, practically admitted it without even realizing. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't hand the kid a participation ribbon or a pat on the back. He just laid it bare, straight-faced, like he was reading a weather report while the tornado was already tearing the roof off, and that's when it hit everyone. Confusion isn't an accident in Cleveland, it's the brand. Overthinking is their playbook, and making bizarre quarterback decisions is their tradition. Fans joke that the Browns front office must have a dartboard labeled quarterback plan. And honestly, it's starting to sound believable.
Browns reporter from Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland, he hears that Shedeur, Ron, is not even running the scout team right now for the Browns.
Rookie has sold the most jerseys since the draft. It's not a first-round pick. It's Shedeur Sanders, the 144th pick in the draft. He just outsold everyone, including Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, even Abdul Carter. It's a reminder in 2025 that brand trumps everything.
You'd almost think the real strategy is to keep everything so murky, so tangled, so unpredictable that no one can ever truly say they failed. Because how can you fail when no one even knows what the plan was in the first place? Genius. No other word fits. Twisted, yes. Maybe even evil genius, but genius nonetheless. Because here's the crazy part. The whispers have already started around the league. Other teams are watching Shedeur Sanders light up scout team drills that were never meant to make him look good, and they're asking the same question. If he's this sharp running someone else's offense, what happens when he finally gets to run his own? That's the nightmare scenario for Cleveland, because the moment that realization spreads, the Sharks start circling.
Browns really don't want Shedeur or trying to develop him, trade him off. Trade Shedeur. Why do the Cleveland Browns continue to hang on to a 5th round draft pick who they think in their eyes that he's not the one? I'm just saying. Man, when I went over there on Twitter and I looked at it, and the first thing came up was ESPN Cleveland, Tony Rizzo talking about Shedeur Sanders. I said, let me see what Tony's talking about now. Tony says it's been reported to him that Shedeur is not even taking no kind of reps, and he's not even running scouting. Make this make.
GMs from rival teams are already sniffing around thinking, hey, maybe we should make a call. And that's when Cleveland, being Cleveland, will probably do what they do best. Freeze up, hesitate, panic, and maybe even trade the wrong quarterback just to keep the chaos consistent. It's their signature move. You can feel the shift in energy. It's like the entire organization is sitting on a ticking time bomb made of bad decisions and unspoken tension. What they thought was a harmless scout team experiment might actually be the fuse to something explosive. Because once that fuse burns out and blows, it won't just shake up their locker room, it'll shake up the whole NFL. So buckle up, because if Cleveland doesn't act fast, they're gonna watch this story explode right in their faces. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you on the next one.